Order. Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year, since it's the first time that we're meeting in January. Did everybody receive the minutes and able to review them?
Let's do a roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm out of practice, Leona.
It's been a while. It's
Hi,
okay.
Caleb. Yes, it has.
All right, I'm going to begin the roll call. Alex Collazo. Alex Collazo. Brucey Cummins.
Here.
Caleb Gunter.
Here.
Carrie Villeneuve. Carrie Villeneuve. Charlie Lykoff.
Here.
Darren Heitner. Darren Heitner. Deborah Rosenbaum.
Here.
Gail Butler.
Here.
Greg Martin. I think your phone is muted, Greg.
I'm sorry. I'm
That's
here.
okay.
Good evening.
Joanne Smith. Joanne Smith.
I know she was coming.
Karen Polivka.
Here.
Mariana Seiler.
Here.
Mary Pelican.
Present.
Mr. Robert Payne. Robert Payne. Tangerine Moore.
Present.
Okay. Chair, you do have a motion to carry forward.
Okay, thank you. Did everybody receive the minutes and able to review them?
Yes.
Do we have any corrections?
No, I move to approve the minutes.
Okay.
I
I'll
second it.
second that. Leona, do you have to go one by one or?
No, who seconded the minutes for that one?
I did.
Was it Bruce
Here I did.
Mary?
5 of us did.
Okay. The minutes are approved. Should we go right into department minutes with Carl? Department update? Sorry, not minutes. Department update.
Well, good evening, everyone. Hope everybody is well and safe and moving forward in 2021 here. I do have a few things that I would like to share with you all. I believe it was last meeting or probably the meeting prior, I mentioned about Hort and Kuntiasi playgrounds, the construction of those. And we are about 2 weeks away from finishing those playgrounds. We just have a few punch list items and some permit inspections, and those 2 playgrounds will be completed.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi, sorry.
Hey, Joanne.
Evening, everyone.
We also have, some of you already know, but on Tuesday, we moved the vaccination site from Holiday to now Snyder Park. And the vaccination site will be Tuesday through Saturday, indefinitely for a time period. So that is new as of this week of our new vaccination site. Also, a few months back, I want to say probably in August at some point, the Panthers gave us a presentation about their ideas with the auditorium. And within the coming weeks, they will actually start to fence off their area to actually begin the construction at the War Memorial Auditorium for the development of that area. You all should have received it, I believe this week and maybe today or yesterday, but Leona sent out a little note to you all regarding the Bennett Elementary Playground ribbon cutting.
Yep.
So that park grand opening is coming, I believe, this Friday.
Is it this Friday, Carl, or is it next Friday?
Next
I
Friday.
believe it's next Friday.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Thanks, Gail.
And then as a segue into our bond discussions, for those of you who've driven around over the last 2 days, you probably started to notice banners that have been put up around the city that kind of talk about the virtual portion of our public engagement for the park's bond process. We will have this up throughout the rest of the month, towards the end of February, the entire month of February, where individuals can go in and make their comments and provide input and feedback on the website. And AECom will, of course, review that, compile it, and we'll come back before the board to provide like an update on that. Because I know we actually just had a mini conversation about the bond and getting people out and making aware. And so this is kind of part of that process to raise awareness for people to go online and do the virtual presentations, because, being that we're in the weather of COVID, there won't be any face-to-face or any grand meetings that we'll have. We have a banner at many locations. There's one right as you turn into Holiday Park. There's one on Hardy Park. We try to put them in high visible areas. There'll be one at the corner of Broward and Andrews. And there's several others. I can't think of them off the top, but the banners are there. And basically it just kind of goes into how to go online and visit those virtual rooms. And, and I'll let Joe kind of go into detail about how that looks and what that'll entail, but that's kind of the start of raising awareness on how individuals can find out about the bond.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? You want to raise your hand for Carl? You can do this. I see.
Mary does.
Carrie, are you there?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Hey, if I could get that piece that's on, I've seen it on Facebook and probably on Nextdoor, but I'll probably get this from Leona, that PDF that shows the website for the Parks Bond. That would be great if I could get that, because I can send that out through all of the council, Fort Lauderdale Civic Association, Constant Contact, and then of course my own association. So it'd be really cool to be able to get that in a PDF. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we actually will send that out to all of you all.
Okay, thank you.
Carrie, looks like you're next.
Yes, Carl, have you sent out the link to the website to provide the feedback? Have you sent that out to the presidents of all the civic associations and to the other nonprofits that have good email distribution lists, like Riverwalk, maybe DDA, I don't know. But basically the civic organizations that are going to have interface and email lists and Facebook pages that can help push that out to people. And then along the lines of what Mary was saying, please, have Leona send us something so that we can distribute to our own stuff. But I think that my understanding is there's going to be separate meet and comment period with the civic associations as entities, I think, but correct me if I'm wrong. But even if that hasn't started yet, it'd be good for the civic associations to go ahead and start pushing out the links to individuals and putting those links on their on their own Facebook pages, so you can get that individual feedback. And then when there's engagement with the civic associations as entities, then you can get the entity feedback.
Yep, everything you said is accurate.
Oh, it has happened. You've sent it to the civic association presidents and all that?
So I don't want to speak for Phil or Joe, but I know that when I say they, the civic associations presidents have been contacted and will receive. I don't know if they actually have it yet, but I know that those individuals will receive that link just the same as you all to help spread the word as well.
Yeah, if I may, Carl, we gave a presentation to the Council of Civic Associations last Friday and provided them all of the information to include newsletters and distribute as widely as possible.
This is so, we do have it, but I just want to have that real clean PDF for the website, and we'll get it out there for sure. But it was a very good presentation, as Mr. Webb said.
Sounds great. Anyone else? I'm hoping those that raise their hand I'm not seeing everybody's pictures because we have so many people signed on, it looks like. We're good? Okay, so we'll move on to Joe Webb with the Parks Bond update. Thank you, Carl.
You're welcome.
Bear with me 1 second here, everyone. I'll switch over to my screen.
City moderator, can you give him sharing rights?
Yes. Can everyone see my screen?
I can. Thank you.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, Joe.
Okay, well, with your permission, I'll start, Karen.
Yes, please go ahead. Thank you.
I think a lot of these questions we might be able to answer here, and we're certainly available for anything else that you may wish to talk about after. But this is kind of an overview of our program and kind of our critical part now, which is we're really launching into a heavy effort of the public engagement. So again, more of Fort Lauderdale's beautiful waterfront and parks, great legacy of beautiful parks, and hopefully with the bond program, even more so. Our stated purpose for our program is to implement the community's aspirations based on the values, expressed needs, priorities defined. If you can read that, that's all pretty much straight from our scope of work. Through the original 2016 park system master plan, there were some needs identified, and really to revisit those. It's 2021, a great deal has happened over the last few years, and to understand what the community's needs and priorities are. Our approach, the city has engaged AECOM. We're a large planning, design, and engineering firm. We ourselves have put together a very large team, but to work in partnership with the city to help plan, design, and ultimately manage construction of the park improvement projects. There's lots of them, plus or minus 90 right now and growing. But what we've tried to do is put together a very large team able to work on multiple projects at the same time, not one track, but creating multiple tracks of projects to really deliver these programs. This is similar. This is a little different than perhaps how it was traditionally done, where if a city passed a large bond program with lots of improvements, it would be done primarily in-house. That can sometimes take an exceedingly long time to try and do. So we're here to help expedite and deliver these projects. We're doing similar programs for the city of Doral, Miami Beach, and Cape Coral. So this is kind of the trend. Right now, if you see, this is kind of a real simplified schedule here, but we've gotten the project started up, we've gotten the website up. We're really about to go February 1st live with the first effort of the public engagement, which is a virtual public engagement program. But we're hoping that doesn't preclude that afterwards there isn't going to be follow-up or other efforts, but this is the first across the board effort to try and really reach out to everyone. Ensuing phases will of course be design and construction. We're going to work in what we call in the engineering world tranches or in phases, so that we can have a lot of projects going on at the same time and really stagger them out and hopefully complete the work quickly. But the most important thing is, to move quickly. Sometimes the most important thing is to not go backwards. So what we really need to do at this first phase is really make sure we have the community's needs and priorities, straight, and making sure that what we're working on is really the consensus of what people want. As I mentioned, there was a pretty extensive outreach as a part of the Parks Master Plan that was done primarily over 2015 and 2016. It's now 5 years ago, so I think the city, wisely so, and the people voting really wanted to revisit the list of things. It's not to discount or discard the original list, but really to re-verify and reprioritize that list of projects that made up the $200 million bond. So we've got up and we're still working on, even now, I think this is the state of things, but we're working on the website where we're planning on really using that as the launching pad to a full virtual engagement. The website, which you see a quick screenshot of, that might look a little different depending on what kind of device you access it from, a tablet or a phone or a computer, but really the central repository, it's the ftlparksprojects.com, and that's really the big thing that's going up on all the banners. Carl mentioned them. There's 32 that have been put up over the last 2 days. We're also doing flyers, and if you get your water bill, there will be an insert in that. We're doing selected neighborhoods with door hangers. We've had pushes on social media, and then presentations to like the Civic Association and of course, everyone here to try and help us in getting that message out. The website will be active throughout the length of the project. We're really using it as the launching point for the public engagement, but it will also be there throughout the life of the project to provide updates, keep people up to date on what we're doing as we proceed, and really provide a transparent way where everyone can see, what we're planning on doing. So the virtual rooms, which you access through the website, this is something developed by AECOM as a way to really immerse people in the process. So it's a 3D virtual room. You can go onto the website and you can search by the map. You can find it by typing in your address and finding parks nearby you, or really go alphabetically. If you know the name of your park, go and give input on it. But the 3D room, or the room, simulates a 3D platform. It is like you're in the park. We've been using this on other projects during the time of COVID and have had actually a great deal of success. We are seeing on some projects 10 times the amount of public participation. I think people have grown used to, Netflix over scheduled TV programming that they can access 24/7 from their phone, from any point. If they have an idea or they want to share with a friend, it's always there. Ideas are available and it can be accessed, really by anyone at any time, rather than some of the struggles we had with fixed place at fixed time, public meetings. So it's pretty ingenious. Out of necessity comes invention. So we're pretty proud of what we think the rooms will function as. They do look like this. Every park, every one of the 90 parks has a room. This, I think, is Victoria Park. If you look out the windows, that is actually the park. If you're in the site, you can maneuver around and you can click on and see the executive summary for the master plan. You can see additional photos, explanations about the program. There's a nice video from the mayor that I think was very well done. We have a map of all of what were the original 2016 program items shown on the park where they were intended to be at that time, and then a portal to a survey where people can enter ask questions, provide comments, and listing out, prioritizing what they think are the top priorities for their park. So it's kind of it's been an interesting exercise, but we tried to mimic the Florida vernacular, tried to really make it look like it's sitting in the park so people can have the full experience, but really also, if you want to reference to photos from the park of something that you can't remember, hopefully it's an immersive experience. So each of them, some of the boards, I'll explain the process and what some of the background is on each of the parks. But each of the parks will look something like this. This is Oswald Park, where this is what was discussed or what we gathered through our input in 2016. Field lighting upgrades, security lighting, building renovations. We put them out what we call programmatically. That doesn't mean the park's fully designed yet, but these are the things we were told at the time that needed to be improved. We at the time put a cost to each of those and included that in a summary, and that was the basis, at least for the $200 million bond. If that makes sense. So once you've gone through the room, the last stage of it is to really enter a survey where there's an opportunity to provide general comments. All the improvements are listed out where we're asking people to pick their top 5. If it so be that as we proceed, there's 20 items and the consensus of people is really focused on 10 to 15. We'll know as we proceed, what are the more important items and what are those items that, might potentially be deferred if there is a need to. So we do have an opportunity, and I do encourage anyone that does do it there is a place to put in your address. It is a great way to then we can, with your email, provide follow-up information. We're going to maintain a list and a contacts repository so that we can keep people up to date as the program proceeds. But we're also going to use it in a way that if you do offer to provide your address, we'll also be able to sort for those people that live close to a park and what their opinions are, as opposed to those people that might be a great distance away. So that's one of the things where I encourage people, if they wish to, put your address in unless you're concerned. Once we've gathered all the information, the site will be live starting February 1st and throughout the month of February through the 28th. And once we have gotten it all and are able to consolidate what we heard, we're going to post it back to the website so everyone can see openly and transparently the same as what we heard. It's usually in bubbles or in priorities of what were the most common responses or the most common priorities, so that you'll see what we see and we concur or can discuss how the program should proceed and what the development or designs should include. So the prioritization, this will come out in the end of, the monies were identified. We understand that there's, priorities, and sometimes we have to choose. I like to joke that rarely do I hear through a public input process that you need to change an 8-inch force main out in the street, but I may need to update an 8-inch force main. There are some things that we cannot avoid that must be included in the program. If I want to upgrade the community center, it may come with other costs, but we'll try and provide a criteria for prioritization with concurrence of this group or with your input. We do understand that the 4 signature projects are already identified. Tunneltop is well underway with the FDOT, but the other 3 are clearly identified as priorities. What we will look for additionally is there clear consensus? Is there a community consensus on, yes, this is the program we want to develop? and please proceed, or is there a need to follow up with further, conversations, particularly with some of the newer parks and other things we're assuming there will need to be, but we're really going to start with what does everyone tell us, and then for those that need follow-up, we'll arrange accordingly. We are always interested in making sure that they're equitably distributed across the city, so we're not doing all work in one area. We have a team working on potential grants or means of leveraging the funds. I think everybody likes that idea that if there is a way that we can get more with our current money, that we'd like to do so. So the team is looking for every different way that we can, find other money. Efficiency of design and bidding and construction is of course important. We're going to try and bundle together like projects so the city's money goes as far as it possibly can. And then a balance of the design intensive projects with simpler quick win projects. I think the idea there was simply that, Holiday Park is a very complicated park and will probably take, quite a bit of work to design and continue to engage people in the process. Every smaller project, a playground replacement here or lighting improvement there, shouldn't have to wait 5 years while we sort out the bigger, more complicated projects, but really starting tracks where we also get some quick wins, get some of the easier, simpler programs started quickly. So while we're doing all of this, the city has been very actively looking at land acquisition also. There was originally $30 million appropriated within the bond for land acquisition, $7.5 million per commission district. That the origination of that was what the map you see on your right, what we call a gap analysis. The purple areas are where we identify walk sheds to each park. The areas of gray are gaps, or areas where there isn't the readily accessible park areas. So we tend to target the acquisition of properties within those particular areas. But land acquisition, they've currently succeeded in acquiring 3 properties. It's always a somewhat stop and go process because the negotiations can proceed, they can slow, they can stop. Sometimes when people are aware that a government entity is interested in their properties, then it becomes a lot more valuable. So it's not as easy as target and purchase, like I'm at Target. It really takes kind of an iterative process of finding fair and appropriate properties to acquire. So the city's been doing a good job getting started on that. That's probably going to run the entire length of the program as this list of 3. I think the target list is like 20. And, we try and keep that confidential and make sure that we're working in the best interest of the city. So again, back to this, next steps. We're really at this part of launching into the public engagement. Our hope is to complete the public engagement and at least get started on some of the first projects here in spring of 2021, with then kind of this tiered or tranche approach to really rolling out bundles of projects that, again, are efficient, they're constructed well, designed well, but it is certainly a large program. We're a big company and we do lots of work, but 90 park projects individually is, by anyone's estimation, a big task. So that's kind of my spiel. I rolled through it a little quickly, but I'm happy to go back to any part and hopefully answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Joe. Hopefully I can see hands being raised for those board members that have questions. I can't see any pictures though for the city moderator, for the other people. Side by sides. Okay, there we go. Anyone raise their hand for questions? Oh, okay, Deborah, I see you. Deborah, did you have your hand up? I'm sorry, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Go ahead.
Joe, is this live now, or when will this be coming live?
Next Monday, February 1st. It is actually up, but we're still tweaking it and trying to make it optimized for phones and different phones and other items. So it's a little glitchy. It's actually there, but it will be fully operational as of February 1st.
And the repository, is that going to have all of the backup material for all of the different projects?
Yes. I mean, everything that we have on there, and then each one of them, and as the program proceeds, and say a particular park starts into construction, all the updates of where it is and money spent and status will be on that website.
I think it's a very comprehensive website, if this is the way it's gonna turn out. I think it's very, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to interacting with them.
I agree. Looks great. Charlie, I see your hand up.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we have access to the link or the QR code that we can forward on to the civic associations and things like that. Because I was toying with it while he was talking, and it seems like a really, really neat app for people to go through and use. I just want to make sure we make it easy for them to access and make them aware of it. That QR code seems to be the access point to everything.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I mean, if you're trying to do it on your phone or something, snap the QR code and you're there.
Right. And that's what I was doing. So it was great. I just want to make sure we have that. Even if we only just have that in the FL Fort Lauderdale Parks Project.com information to lead them to that to the site, that would be great.
Yeah, and Leona and Carl, let's work together because Pam Adams has assisted us in creating collateral materials that are formatted at different. We do have a one-page, simple front and back, really easy, quick guide to people doing it. So let's get that out to everyone as a follow-up to this meeting, if we could, please. I'll work with you on doing that.
Yep, sounds good.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions from the board? Oops, I'm sorry. Hold on. Tangerine, go ahead.
Yes, good evening. Everything looks good, Mr. Webb. My question is, if you don't get enough feedback for the month of February, is there a number that you're looking for the input back from the community, from the residents?
Not a specific number. I guess we'll assess when we get to the end if it's deemed to be insufficient. My experience has been, it's been like really overwhelming. So I would assume our challenge is going to be consolidating 10,000 comments, not wondering if 100 is enough. So most people really enjoy it, but certainly if we get to the end and we don't feel that it has reached enough people, this isn't the end. This is the most comprehensive first effort to try and really get everyone's input.
Yeah, also too, I just want to add that, and Joe mentioned it when he started his presentation, is that back in 2015, 2016, we had the master plan, and that spit out, all the thoughts and recommendations at the time of that public engagement. And so fast forward 5 years to now, this is more or less making sure that those are still some of the needs, some of the comments, thoughts that we want, and or if it's changed. And so the idea is that, and I agree with Joe. I think that he'll with this whole project will probably get quite a bit of feedback. But in the event he does, we still have that information from not only the master plan but also the original list of potential projects throughout the city.
Yeah, Carl, and to follow on to that, the original master plan, we had statistically valid surveys, focus group meetings, stakeholder meetings, community meetings. So it was not bereft of outreach, and there was substantial amount of input at that time. Now, if I look back to 2016 and how I see after year 2020, my life is quite a bit different today than it was in 2016. So this is a very valid exercise, but that doesn't discount that a lot of people did participate in 2016. So we don't want to disregard all that input, but yeah, my life is, I would never have imagined having a virtual meeting here today. So yeah, but there was very substantial input to begin with.
Okay, I believe that's it. I'm gonna look through one more time to see if there's any hands raised. Oh, Brucey?
Just a quick one. You go to ftlparksprojects.com. That's it, right? To enter into the site?
And then from there, you can launch to the rooms and you can follow the tracking below, etc. Those are some of the little bugs we're working out right now, because on a phone, I'll tell you, it has to be displayed differently. You might have to have different pages. So, but that's your link right there, ftlparksprojects.com.
Brucey, if you hold your camera up to the QR code, it'll automatically load.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's a great tool.
Didn't think about that.
So we have 4 members of the public who have asked to speak on the Parks Bond update. So I think it's appropriate to fit them in now. I will ask the members of the public, as a rule of thumb, each person is allotted 2 to 3 minutes to speak, okay? So the first one I have listed is Robert LaGrosse. Are you here, Mr.? I'm sorry if I'm saying your name improper. LaGrosse? City moderator, do we have anybody?
Yes, he should be in shortly.
Should I move to the next person?
No, he's here. He just has to unmute. I just moved him over.
Okay.
Can you see me?
We can hear you, sir.
I can't see you.
Okay, I joined the meeting just primarily to focus on pickleball, and I don't know that it would be appropriate now to get into any detailed comments, but as that whole thought process evolves, I'm a very active pickle player here in Fort Lauderdale. I live here in the winter, and I think I've got some good ideas to add to the progress of getting more pickleball availability.
Well, I think that might come in with this. Did you hear how you can give your public feedback for the FTL Parks projects?
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't know if you had any specific questions for Parks Bond update, anything specific to that. So the whole month of February, starting February 1st, the public can put in their requests for what they'd like to see done at the parks. But I know pickleball is a huge topic, so maybe that's something that we could have a meeting about between I don't know, Mr. Campillo and Joe and Carl or something.
I think it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. And actually get all the people who have signed the petition to communicate as well. I don't know, Carl, is that something that's an option?
Yeah, so what I would say is, because I agree, when I am out to the sites, I definitely get questions, and I get emails from residents regarding pickleball. And so what I would suggest, because we know that there is a need, and we know that there is quite a bit of demand for a variety of different courts, even from a tournament perspective. At our last commission meeting, it was discussed at that time as well. And, so part of, when we look for land is to look for places that could probably house several pickleball courts there. But, at this point in time, we really just kind of would need, feedback to make sure that certain areas are still interested in having additional courts. For those that live in the Bayview area, to provide their input at parks in that particular area that could use pickleball courts. Because at this time, I don't know if it would help much at all at this point to have a separate meeting to discuss pickleball, because we certainly recognize that there's a need. And, you know, at this time, we just don't have an avenue to get more courts until, you know, we kind of finish throughout the public engagement or get with the school board, in which we've had conversations with Sunrise Middle to use the tennis courts and kind of add pickleball lines and refurbish those courts.
Yeah. Let me just, if I could comment on that. I think it really is good to focus on using existing paved surfaces such as roller hockey rink or tennis courts for pickle, because if you've got a nice flat asphalt surface, the amount of extra money you have to spend in order to make it into a pickleball court is minimal. A portable pickleball net costs about $150. And so it's a much simpler process, I believe, than finding new land and new sites. If there are unused, flat, hard surfaces that are in good shape, you could make a pickleball court out of it very easily.
That's what they're looking into. I think that's definitely one of their priorities. Actually, Deborah, do you have any feedback, since you're the liaison with the Education Advisory Board? Do you have any feedback regarding the joint use of their tennis courts at Sunrise Middle?
We haven't met yet. At least I haven't met with them. I haven't gotten an invitation. I made a mental note to call Zoe tomorrow to find out what the scoop is on that.
Okay, because I think that was something that we were hoping you could follow up on.
Yeah, I will follow up.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Maybe Joe, you can answer. How does ANCOM how do they evaluate the sports priorities amongst all the parks, and how the bond's spent on different sporting options?
Well, yeah, if I could. Well, first, the process is derivative, not prescriptive. In other words, we're going to go out and we're going to hear from people, because, oh, well, we know we can convert tennis courts, but wait, did I give people playing tennis a fair opportunity to give their opinion about whether they want their tennis courts converted? You know, this is, working across the entire state and across the US, pickleball is by far, and it's almost laughable within our group that, it's Cape Coral identified it as a crisis of pickleball. I mean, it is so dominant, and so if anyone feels they need to convince me that there's a need for pickleball, I can save them the time. We got it. Now, how are we going to tangibly, actionably meet that need? Where, how big, how many? That's the challenge. I do think there's some ideas that the department's already explored. I think there's some ideas that we may want to even consider. I have seen in other places, in Miami Gardens, where it's indoors. There can be some creative ways to try and meet demand short-term versus long-term, but it's not going away. It's extremely popular. It's a wonderful sport, very social. As you say, I was in Fort Myers and there was a group playing. They drew me into playing, and although I couldn't really play well, it was fun. It's a great game. I know it's a great game. I know it's extremely in need. Now we just need to figure out where, how many, how big, what color, things like that.
Oh, and Karen, real quick, I just want to also note too that over the course of the last 6 months, we've added some pickleball lines to a variety of our tennis courts throughout the city. And what I'll do is, when I send the information out regarding the getting to the website, I'll also include the flyer that has all of our pickleball destinations that we have throughout the city.
Great. Maybe that can be part of the website, where to play pickleball in Fort Lauderdale.
I totally think that's a great idea.
Perfect. Thank you. Carrie, do you have your hand up? You're muted.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yes, I have my hand up.
Okay.
So Joe, I really agree with what Robert said about that it's best to use existing paved surfaces, and I agree with it for the reasons he said, but also for the reason that I don't want to see us give up any more green space. I know there was a big push to build like a pickleball complex on like some of the green space in Holiday Park. I'd like to try to avoid that. Do you guys at AECOM have the authority to look beyond existing current city parks? Like, for example, do you have in your scope, could you go out and say, hey, I think it would make sense to lease the top of Riverwalk Center or the judicial or the top level of the judicial parking garage? And, you know, Robert was saying you can, if you have the lines painted, you can then put up pickleball nets pretty quickly. Like, do you have the authority to do like a lease with the judicial parking garage where you have it from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. for pickleball each night, or to do them on top of Riverwalk Center, or if there is other locations that are not a city park that courts could be put and used? Is that within your authority to go out and explore those type of things? Or are you limited to the existing city parks or buying park land?
Well, let me try and answer that. First, the word authority, we don't have any authority other than what the city gives us. We're here as advisors and consultants, but we have certainly put forth some of our ideas. I mean, even in the 2016 master plan, you know, using the top of a parking structure was shown. You know, that was an idea that, so we try and provide, you know, some of the value that we bring is, I've done parks planning and design for 35 years all over the country. All I really do is travel around a lot and tell people what I see other places. You know, I see what how others are solving it and provide that opportunity to the city. I do believe Carl and Phil are doing, you know, a very good job of trying to find everything. There isn't, I agree with you entirely. I don't think anybody's looking to take away more green space. So is there ways to doing it more efficiently? Are there ways to, you know, other solutions that will meet the demand and not compromise more of the open space within the parks? You know, as I mentioned, I'm seeing some go indoors. There can be benefits to that. You know, you get a greater use time. I don't know. There's lots of different ways to do it, but right now they have another consultant actually guiding them with the actual purchases, but we are retained and we have a responsibility, or part of our scope is to help look for some of those solutions. So
Okay.
We're talking about them now.
Carrie, I like those solutions. I think that's a great idea. We've talked about those before. Okay, for the next member of the public, Jane Santiago, did you have a question regarding Parks Bond update?
I don't see anybody with that name on the attendees list at this moment.
Okay, you signed up to speak. How about a Stephen Williams regarding Parks Bond update?
One moment, he should be joining shortly.
Okay.
There we go. Can you all hear me now?
Yes, hi, Mr. Williams.
How are you doing? Good to see you all.
Yes.
Thank you all very much for your service. Certainly appreciate all you do. And I've had the pleasure of working with many of you and seeing some of you grow up playing on these fields here in Fort Lauderdale. So glad to see it's such a well represented and meaningful committee. And thank you very much for letting me present. I'm also here talking about pickleball, which is a little different mode for me. I was here on the last bond issue talking about baseball fields. Before I get into the pickleball, though, I do have a few questions for the Parks Bond and where they're going. You mentioned 4 signature projects. What are those 4 signature projects?
Tunnel Top is number 1, then it's Holiday, Carter, and Lockhart Parks were identified by the board at the time of the bond as signature projects.
Okay, signature parks, not any particular project. So the Tunnel Top, Holiday Park, Carter, and I'm sorry, what was the other one?
Lockhart, which is the park adjacent to the Inter-Miami site.
Right. Okay. So there's no concept plan put together for those. Those are just the priority sites right now.
Well, each of them has what we call programmatic plan, or at least the ideas that people put forth. So there's a plan. It shows the types of improvements. I wouldn't call it a design, but it at least identifies what people said were their programmatic needs of the park at the time for each one. Other than we did not do Tunnel Top, and at that time in 2016, Lockhart was not a park site, but Holiday and Carter each have one that will be on the virtual rooms.
Okay, thanks. And my other question, your schedule has phases for design. I didn't see anything that basically talked about concept plans or when decisions would be made on what projects were in which phases, I guess, other than these signature projects, which are really parks, not really the projects. Is there a time frame for when you'll make a decision as to what projects go into which phase and which projects would go into those phases?
Right, and we do have more detailed schedules, and you can even see that on the website. But in advance, if you're seeing these green boxes, in advance of each phase, we're to develop a list of projects. It is to be reviewed by the advisory board here, and then confirmed and authorized by the city commission. So each phase, and we're trying to put together the recommendation, but ultimately is the input of this group and the direction of the city commission in advance of each one of these phases.
Okay, so before phase one starts, there will be a list of what's in that phase, and that'll get submitted to the city commission for approval. Is there a time frame for that city commission approval?
We are hoping to consolidate them all in March, bring it before this board in April, maybe May or June. I will tell you from what I'm hearing, from what I'm seeing, that might be ambitious. There's a lot of input. There's a lot of people that are extremely eager to give input. Having worked in Fort Lauderdale before, the city is very engaged. People are very, have a great deal of ownership of their neighborhoods and communities. I'd mentioned the best way to go fast is to sometimes make sure you're not going backwards. We have to balance making sure we've heard everyone with our zeal to move ahead quickly. So it's going to be interesting. I can't answer right now whether the first phase will be easy to identify or difficult.
Yeah, I mean, understand the zeal to move ahead quickly. We're talking about a 2015 Parks Master Plan. So certainly when we say we have a zeal to move ahead quickly, everybody is at least tempered by the fact that we're probably 5-6 years down the road from when this project started to work towards it. So everybody, yes, is anxious to see it get moving. Back to pickleball, if I could for just a bit. There is great interest that
if you could limit, just we have had a lot of discussion on pickleball, and I'm afraid the next person's bringing it up. But
so it's really not about pickleball. It's about the 2015 study identified it as a priority project, and that I think we need to follow through on doing that. There was one point that Carrie made. You didn't want to see green area converted to hardscape. That I would agree that we don't want to move green area, but there's an awful lot of parking area that's actually used for parking, and right now, construction staging that's over there on the southwest corner of the site, that's an area that's not what you would call green area. It's a parking lot, and that's an area we would see that we're not really interested in seeing pickleball scattered throughout the city in different spots, or even put on striped tennis courts, because it's really not feasible. People don't carry their own nets around with them. It requires a full complex. We would like to see a complex similar to what we have for tennis that would be built in Holiday Park, which is a regional park. And like to see that type of thing where we have maybe 25 pickleball courts, similar to many of the other major municipalities in Florida that are going to something like this, and not just spread
Holiday Park happens to be the most the park that's in the most demand. So we know that that's where pickleball would like to be, but 25 courts probably won't happen. This is all something that can be presented in the next month of February from the public, but I don't think that there's even space with the Panthers moving in and all the other plans for Holiday Park. So
That's what we would like to have the opportunity to present that to you, because there is space and we'd like to see it done. And that's what we would like to find out when there's an opportunity to have discussion and not just input, because I think with proper discussion, we can show where it can be done and that it is really the best thing to do for that park.
Okay. Well, I know Mr. Campillo is in close contact with Carl, so I think that they're working on that.
Great. Thank you very much, Karen.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Klein, there's a Philip Klein signed up. I would request that we don't discuss pickleball anymore. We need to move on. Do you have questions regarding Parks Bond update? And actually, sorry, City Moderator, is he on? Mr. Philip Klein?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, how are you?
Yes,
Welcome.
I won't belabor it. I was here to encourage the pickleball discussion, but there's been a lot of it already. I would just echo what Mr. Williams said and let you go on your way.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. It is the #1 topic that we keep discussing, but I think February is very important for the public to join in and be able to communicate their desires.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
There is an enormous demand for it, and I would just encourage some discussion as Mr. Williams has requested, and I won't belabor it beyond that.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Klein. Have a nice night. Okay, next up is Fort Lauderdale Aquatic Center. We have Greg Jennings, Kevin Curry, Thomas Green, and Laura Boyd. Hello. I don't know if you're all speaking, but welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Hello.
Hi, Laura.
My name is Tom Green. I'm one of the project managers for the City of Fort Lauderdale. Unfortunately, our construction management firm is Hensel Phelps. They're the ones that they were awarded a design build contract for the city to design and construct the aquatic center complex. And unfortunately, they're not able to attend tonight. So you have city staff. So you have myself, again, who's a project manager for the city, and Laura Vogt, our aquatic complex manager. And I'll let Laura introduce herself.
Yes, tonight. So we're really
Ooh, bad audio.
You sound like Minnie Mouse.
I can barely hear you.
It's garbled.
Laura, you might want to log off and log back in. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I think you have a little technical difficulties, but shouldn't be a problem. So I do have a presentation. I'll try and share my screen if that's okay with everybody.
Sure. Yes, thank you. It's looking so good. I walk by there on Sundays.
Okay, very, very cool. Are folks able to see the screen okay?
I can see it.
Yep.
All right, perfect. So again, this is the Aquatics Complex project. We are, active construction now. Kind of my role with this is I'm with the city's Community Redevelopment Agency. We're one of the main funding mechanisms for the project, and this has been kind of one of our signature projects for the CRA program. So that being said, why are we here? This is, again, just a brief overview and really kind of give you all a quick update and address any questions that you may have. I won't stay on the slide too long, but again, Hensel Phelps is our design build firm. The city issued a DCP or design criteria package to procure a design builder, and we ultimately selected Hensel Phelps to lead that design effort and carry it through construction. So, it takes a village to make this thing come out of the ground and eventually put bodies in the pool. So these are this is the Hensel Phelps team, and this is the village that's helping us make this project into a reality. And again, I won't stay on the slide too long, but just kind of to show the hierarchy and the relationship of everybody. It's a joint effort between the CRA and Parks and Rec as entities of the city who hired on Hensel Phelps. And on the right side of the screen is the whole design team led by Cartiath as a prime consultant. And on the bottom left-hand side is all our trade partners, with Weller Pools being the prime trade who's responsible for the construction of our comp pool, our dive pool, renovations of the training pool, and putting together the brains and the guts to make all the pools function. So how this project started was probably a long time ago, probably a lot longer since I've been with the city. I came to the city in 2014, and I know we had issues with the grandstand bleachers and the issues with the dive pool as well prior to my coming to the city. But really the big goals for this is our grandstand bleachers were condemned, so we couldn't host events, and our pools no longer met the competition standards. Even if we had the bleachers, we could no longer host events. So that's really what drove the show for this project, is really we want to basically get back to competitive standards and have the ability to host events and still provide a rec center that I know a lot of residents enjoy. So for folks that are not familiar with the project, we are located on the Barrier Island, a couple blocks south of Las Olas Boulevard, right across from DC Alexander Park. And again, this kind of touches on the main goals for the project. So here's an aerial that was kind of taken from the Curio Hotel, which has recently opened up across the street. And there's a bird's eye view of the facility before we started construction. And again, our main goal was to demolish the existing competition pool and go deeper, wider, longer, demolish the dive tower and the dive pool, again, go deeper and longer and wider to meet competitive standards for swimming in there, as long as installing a new dive tower. The grandstand and bleachers were issues with concrete spalling and was deemed an unsafe structure. So replace those and provide all the support to go with it, like ticketing, concession, and spectator restrooms. Basically regrade this area to get a little more opportunity for some pedestrian activity and kind of repave the parking area. And at the bottom of the screen, with the training pool will remain. These two pools were constructed in the late 50s, early 60s, and this training pool was constructed in 1990. So for this one, it was more just a resurfacing, new gutters and all the plumbing infrastructure to support it, but keeping the pool shell. And the last one was the teaching pool that would be a replacement, moved to a new location kind of here, tucked behind the museum building. I think I just kind of went over this slide, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip this one. So this slide's important. This was the rendering to show what Hensel Phelps was awarded, and this was the original project scope. And I'm going to flip ahead one slide. I want you to pay attention to the dive tower and the facade of this building. And this is revised project scope as it currently stands today. So at the groundbreaking ceremony for this project, we received some direction from commission to increase the height of this dive tower from 10 meters, which is where my cursor is currently hovering, up to 27 meters. We also received a request as we got through the design development for this project to add a open air amenity deck or viewing platform on the second level, and also to kind of dress up the facade of that building. So that's where we kind of get the swoops and some of this little bit fancier architecture. And also in the background, you can see that there's been some changes to the south building, and we'll touch on that a little bit later in the presentation. But those are the main differences between what was originally awarded to Hensel Phelps and what is currently in the scope of work for the project. These are some, we have a drone with Hensel Phelps, and these are some project update photos. Like this was flown about a week ago. So these are kind of, real-time snapshots for you folks to see what have we accomplished and where are we. And I'll take a few minutes just to go through, some of our achievements on the project to date. So on this slide on the far left, you're looking towards the north, and this is the dive pool. So the shell's complete. We accomplished all the temporary dewatering measures needed to install the 6-meter deep dive well. Shell's in, and we're wrapping up some of the patching in the dive well now. Just a little bit to the north of that dive well is our support building that we touched on earlier. So you can see the first level's in, foundation's in, slabs in, masonry walls are up for the first level. Kind of inside these two buildings are the male and female restrooms, plumbing installed, roughed in. And over here is our new concession concession office, ticketing office, and on the far left side is the elevator shaft is constructed, and this is where the elevator pit's going to go in order to get folks up to that second level open air amenity deck. Here is a little bit of the grandstand and bleachers, and if I jump to the picture to the right, you can see we're 2/3 of the way poured. I think we have our last pour scheduled for Friday this week, which will kind of top out the grandstand bleacher building. The competition pool shell is poured and installed. We filled in and got rid of the old dive well, which used to be located here, and this new dive well actually went adjacent to it. And this area is our temporary staging area. This is where the new teaching pool will go, depending on, what happens with this museum buildings. And we've installed gutters now on training pool, installed the gutters on the comp pool. And once construction activity kind of ceases in the dive well, we'll start working on the gutters in that area as well. We've pretty much touched on this photo, just a little bit clearer picture for you. I'll pause on this one for a minute. So again, you can see most of the shell is installed for the dive well. What you see sticking up on this side with all the orange caps sticking up is all of our auger cast piles. Everything on this facility is supported on piles anywhere from 14 to 18 inches. And that takes you down to a rock layer that can really support the foundation and structure for this. So here is a whole mess of piles, again, going down to that 50-foot plus depth, and that's to support the foundation for our 27-meter dive tower. So the next step for the contractor is he's out there now putting in some form work, and they're going to pour a big slug of concrete, which is a cap, that goes over all these piles. And part of what will pour into this cap is going to be the embed, which is where we're going to receive the pieces for our 27-meter dive tower. So this is a really critical piece of construction coming up for this project, and very critical for the layout, making sure that the embeds of the rebar will match up perfectly with that new 27-meter dive tower. And just to jump to the schedule, we've had a lot of earthwork moved around on the site. Again, you can see when we started the dive pool, the comp pool going vertical on some of those buildings. These next two dates, I do want to make a correction. So we are not going with erection in February for the 27-meter. We are still wrapping up with the precast. We're using a firm just outside of Orlando, and we're about 1/3 of the way through casting the pieces, and we expect them to arrive in February, and we go vertical in March. So March will be the big milestone date for the project, and that's when you're going to see this thing just rise out of the earth, and it'll be amazing. And the project completion date also slides from July to August of 21. So there's a 1-month slide again on the 27-meter erection, and on the project completion, it slides to August of 21. Now, I did, when we looked at the compare and contrast of what was bid for Hensel Phelps versus what they're actually constructing now on their awarded scope, we touched on the south building. So when about halfway through this project, we received an unsolicited proposal from Hensel Phelps to design and construct the south building. We could not award it under their existing scope of work, and we received an unsolicited proposal. We made a presentation to the Parks Board, I believe back in, was it February of 20, with a request of $7 million for design and construction of this building. So this would be a separate contract, separate from the Aquatic Center. And we're currently trying to negotiate the final price and a comprehensive agreement with Hensel Phelps. Assuming everything can move forward and we can allocate all the dollars in order to support the final design and construction of this project, we would anticipate trying to do a demolition towards the end of the first quarter of 21. So best case scenario for that project is if we can start the demo in April of 21, we would dovetail right behind it and start our deep foundation and the structure for it. And again, everything on the side is supported on piles because it's former submerged land. So that would be the big crane rig on site drilling down for the piles. Once we get that structure up, we can start drying in the building. We'd then start doing some of the interior build out by December, and we'd anticipate a completion of the south building by May 22. And with that, I leave it open to any questions that you guys have. And would you like me to continue sharing the screen in case there are questions, or is everybody okay with the presentation?
I think you should keep the screen up just in case anybody has questions about it.
Okay.
Anybody? I don't see any hands raised at this point. Anybody have questions for Tom? Oh, okay. I meant officially, if you do, I think if you hit the raise hand on the bottom of your screen, it pops your picture to the top. I could be wrong, but Deborah, I think, was that you? There you are.
Yes. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Deborah.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
I'm excited. Actually, Mary and I are excited because we actually have a vested interest in this project. We both swim for the team. Laura knows this. I guess my first question is, I saw that you're predicting that the end of the project is July 2021. However, the south building is not going to be even close to being finished. And this may be a question also for Laura. When will the team and the pools actually be able to be used? When will they start being used?
Okay, let me see if I can jump back a couple slides. I wish I had a better photo, but I think this one somewhat paints a picture, and you ask a really great question. So again, if folks, you can still see my screen, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So I'm gonna hover the mouse. This is that existing south building. Here it is in relation to those pile caps that we just, or the piles for the 27-meter cap we just talked about. And here again, it is in relation to that competition pool. When we project that we have a August 21 date for these pools, the bleacher and the bathroom building, and not the south building, that's currently what I have under contract with Hensel Phelps. With that is awarded. We're in active construction, and those are signed contracts. At this point, I do not have a signed comprehensive agreement with Hensel Phelps to finish design and begin construction on the south building. That being said, assuming we move forward with Hensel Phelps on the south building, these projects are absolutely joined at the hip. The new layout for this south building will have it be approximately 15 feet off the face of that competition swimming pool. I don't think there is one attorney in the city or one person in risk management that would allow me to try and have folks swim in this pool while I'm still building and finishing out the south building. So assuming the south building goes forward, the dates for opening up the whole entire facility and a portion of these pools has to slide with it. And how those slide is directly driven by what happens with this south building and what that direction is. And my intent is not to be vague, it's to be as transparent and honest with you as possible, but with a question mark on what am I doing and what is the timing for the south building, I really can't forecast accurately for you what does that do for these other pools and what is the appetite from a public safety standpoint. So I would love to put folks in these pools as fast as possible. And if the south building was not in play, I could tell you right now, it's going to be August of 21 of this year. With this building potentially in play, and again, with just the constructability of this alone, keep in mind, we're on a very narrow peninsula. I mean, you can see I have very, next to zero room behind this. It's like that 15-foot alleyway. I'll have to leave off a portion of this pool deck just to bring in equipment and vehicles and material. There's a lot of constructability and logistics that go along with this site. It's very tight and it's very condensed.
Yeah, you know what, realistically, they can't open up the pools until the south building is done.
I don't know yet. There may be a way that we can cut two ribbons potentially. Cut a ribbon for a portion of this facility, cut a ribbon for the rest of this facility and this building. I don't know yet, and there a lot of other folks have to look at this as well on our side. We want to be smart about it and not take on a lot of risks. So I wish I had better information for you right now, but I want to be as open and transparent with you as I can with the knowledge I have at this time.
Are you able to share the drone photos with us?
Yes, I can do that. I don't know how that works. Do I do that through
Probably have to send
it out, or what's the best way to do this?
Send it to Leona.
Okay. Yep, we can share these photos.
That what you said, Leona, for him to send them to you?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Mary, you had your hand up?
Well, actually, Deborah kind of asked my very same question. We both, as she said, are on the team. So I don't really need to ask the question, although I am a little curious about the teaching pool. Not that I think I'm kind of out of that phase right now, that little teaching pool for little kids. Is that really kind of that will be there? I do have people ask about that quite often in Coral Ridge, if that teaching pool is going to come back or not. Is that still in the plans, or is that kind of up in the air depending on what happens with the museum?
Yes. So, the home for the teaching pool will be here in this gigantic mound of dirt. We have done some construction activities out there.
Okay.
And, there's a lot of permitting agencies that govern, what is required for the site. One of them is Department of Health, and they have requirements on proximity for bathrooms. So we began some construction initially on the site because we were limited on where we could begin our work. So under this mound of dirt, there are some piles installed right now to support the foundation for it. This is a shell for a bathroom building that was required by DOH in order to have the pool in this location. At this point in time, we have paused construction. It's not on the critical path. And just on a side note, critical path is very important in construction. That's ultimately what drives the schedule. So these are work activities that can happen at a later date that don't affect the end point of our construction. So until I can get smarter and educated on what is the fate of this and this building, I will pause construction on this until I need to put something in the ground in order to satisfy, the contract and what we have awarded to Hensel Phelps. So again, I don't have an answer for you. You have as much information as I can give you, not trying to be vague, but for now it's a pause with a TBD depending on what happens with these buildings.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It's a massive project and us swimmers are looking forward to it. So
thanks, Tom.
Sure.
Anyone else have questions? Is it Brucey? Hi, Brucey.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I wondered if there had been any further discussion about having a sunshade over the bleachers.
Sure. So for folks that aren't aware, Brucey's asking about the grandstand bleacher building, which is here. We did not originally have that within the scope of the project. There may be ways that we could potentially add it in. We've certainly looked at it and reached out to a vendor, but at this point in time, I've not allocated any design dollars for it or a construction budget for it. So could we add it in potentially? I can see if I can zoom in a little bit better. It would be some type of cantilevered structure. These tall poles here are your Musco sport lighting. So there's potential where maybe you could have something overhang over the bleachers, but at this point, I do not have a design budget for it, and I do not have a construction budget for it. So there's an opportunity to add it in, but I just don't have the dollars to support it right now.
Thanks.
Tom, do you have any idea of when we would be able to have our first tournament? Is anything on the books? That might be a question for Laura.
That's a question for Laura. I can't answer that one. I don't see.
Laura, do you want to try to talk? There you are. Hi, Laura.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, clear.
Yes, we have several people that want to be the first, and USA Diving would like to have their Masters Diving Nationals here, but also it's the National Senior Games would like to have their swimming competition here, and they would go in May of 22. So I'm not sure. It's really close. They know it. And but that would be the middle of May of 2022. So that organization is out of the west coast of Florida, and they're here all the time, keeping tabs on the project. They're going to be over at the convention center, and it's a county-wide event. So they're very excited. They would love to be here in Fort Lauderdale, but I've told them, you know, you're going to need to have a alternate location just in case something happens, because it's really close. So I don't know, but we're hoping.
Exciting. Anybody have questions for Laura or Tom? I don't see any hands raised. Okay. Anybody else with you to speak on the Aquatic Center? Is that it?
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you so much. We're so excited. It really does look great.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the proposed parks with Ken, Brooke, and Louisa. I don't know who's speaking. Hi, Louisa. There's Ken.
Hi, good evening.
Good
Hear me?
evening. Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. Well, it's good to see everybody again. Happy New Year. We're really excited to give you a pickleball update. No, I'm just kidding.
That was funny.
We're gonna give you. I know, and I'm gonna be brief. I know you guys have had a long agenda, and there's other things to come on. So, give you a quick little update. Joe from AECOM talked a little bit about our acquisition program. And again, just to kind of reiterate, and I know he put this up last time, we've identified, the 5 areas of need. Again, we've gone over this with you guys before. And so, we are actively engaged in the process. And as you know, we've got a very methodical process here. Once we get these properties under contract, and we have them under our control, they are option contracts. And so, we've got the ability to go through all kinds of due diligence and get community input and so on and so forth. But an important part of our program is to bring them in front of you as the advisory board. And then with your blessing and recommendation, we bring it to City Commission for approval. So this is a small, I guess, pocket park, but essentially in District 3, just in a sort of an add-on and extension to the current Lincoln Park. So as you can see, it's just a small, 4,500 square foot lot. It's been owned by a woman for many, many years, and we're now ready to, I think we went a little fast there. That's okay. So we're ready to, we have this small site again as a kind of an expansion to Lincoln Park. District 3, it's, challenging to find land in this area, but obviously, this is one that, we think is a natural extension to the park that's currently there. And as you can see, it's only $125,000. Again, we can take questions as we go through. We can always go back. We'll leave our slides up. The next one is in District 2, as you can see there. So it's sort of right in the middle of of an area of need. 1700 North Andrews. It's a little over. It's about 1.25 acres. If you go on the next slide, you'll see it's next to the Andy. Right. So where Brooks' cursor is there. So again, this was the commissioner and several of the associations in the neighborhood here were active in looking for land in this area. So we were able to secure this, like I said, 1.25 acres. It was listed for sale, and we've got the price slightly under there. So we think for 1 acre of land in this area, it's a decent price. And again, it's a kind of an area of need, and we've got a lot of good feedback from, neighborhoods and associations that want some more green space in this area. So those are the two that.
Ken, we lost your voice. We can't hear you. Ken?
This is Brooke. Those are the two parks that we're basically bringing before you today for approval to move forward.
Cool.
And Ken, are you back? Oh. And this just goes over, what we've gone through to date. We've closed on 4201 North Bush Boulevard, 1016 Waverly Road, Southwest 5th, Southwest 12th. These are the two that we have under contract. We're focused on getting, waterfront property for a kayak launch, obviously something for a pickleball court. We know everyone wants that. We're looking for property that could be used for dog parks and, still continuing to gather input from the community, meeting with different HOAs and, any input that you guys have, anyone where we want all any recommendations come to us and Louisa. We've been working closely with her and Phil. And the city's goal, as you know, for all residents to be within a 10-minute walk to a park.
Am I back?
You're back. I can hear you, Ken.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So, and again, I think one of the, the goals, and I think you saw with the website, which is, tremendous, but really getting this community input as Brooke has talked about. I mean, the focus on pickleball, has come from, all of the input that we've gathered from various, constituents. We've made a number of presentations to specific HOA organizations, specifically in District 1, where we're looking for some waterfront property. So there's some clear, sensitivities around some of the areas there. So, very engaged as we go forward. But again, as we've talked about before, it's hard to specifically talk about properties before we have them, under control. So under contract, again, just to reiterate, is a misnomer to the certain degree that, we're not necessarily proceeding. We've had a number of properties under contract, and whether it's the HOA or whether it's commission or whether it's, I don't know if you guys actually rejected any, but we like to get these properties under control and then bring them to, sort of bring them out in the public and get the input that, that we need. So the two that we have under contract and under consideration for your approval tonight, as I mentioned, was the 1.25 acres on North Andrews in District 2, and then the small, let's call it the add-on, the Pocket Park addition to Lincoln Park in District 3. And with that, we'll answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? If you could use the icon on the bottom of our page to raise your hand, it just makes it easier for me to see you. Anybody have any questions from the
Karen,
board?
for some reason, that doesn't exist now. For some reason, it's gone.
Yeah, okay.
That icon.
All right, then go ahead and raise your physical hand if you like. Brucey, did you have a question? Oh, wait, Caleb, there you are. Go ahead, Caleb. You're muted if you're speaking, Caleb. There you are.
Sitting there. My only concern with that small pocket park is there's a roadway between Lincoln Park and that tiny strip. And I'm concerned safety wise, I don't know what you can do with such a small, I should say tiny parcel of area. And then the other side with Lincoln Park appears to have park that has basketball courts and somewhat of amenities. I fear what could happen if somebody tried to run from one area to the other. But that's the only thing that disturbs me with that.
Yeah, I know that's something that that Phil and staff are looking at.
I think it's a major concern.
Any other questions?
Agreed.
I mean, they could use a piece of land like that to plant a bunch of trees. Have a nice little seating area.
Need more space for the bees. Carrie, I see your hand. Carrie, go ahead.
What need is that little sliver of land next to Lincoln Park fulfilling? I mean, if we're trying to put parks in places that don't have parks, and this is right next to a park, you know, for $125,000, what is it getting us?
So this is Louisa. We currently own the corner lot right next to the park. So Carl, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's called Lincoln Park Annex or Little Lincoln Park. So we're looking to activate that site, and the additional square footage would allow us to better have amenities and activate the site that we currently own in that area. And it's called Little Lincoln, correct?
Correct. We call it Little Lincoln.
Can you put it back up on the screen, please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the red box makes it seem like it's the corner lot, but that's actually our lot, the Little Lincoln. You know, we have a lot of people that do like to utilize that area, and it would just be a nice combination to connect those two lots to enhance the corner lot.
I have a major concern about what Carrie brought up. That street.
Is that a busy street? It looks like it T's right there at 15th.
Does it matter, Karen? All it takes is one.
I know, but that's a risk on all our streets, isn't it? Northwest 18th. You should walk out my front house. I almost get hit daily. It's a cut through between Federal and Bayview. But no, I agree. But if we own the property next door and it's already being utilized, wouldn't it benefit us to expand it? I mean, maybe they could use it as something separate.
I think it's not being utilized, and that's the whole point.
But would they utilize it if we expanded it?
That's what I understood to be the case.
Yeah, so Carl, you can probably add more into it, but it is currently being used. You can see neighbors there gather in the afternoons, and the expansion of the lot would allow us to, you know, place more amenities or a better plan for that park.
Yeah, and so just to kind of add on, so the area right now is utilized by some of the housing or apartments that abut the area near Lincoln Park and Little Lincoln. And so it has been somewhat of like a hangout spot, if you will. And so the idea would be to expand upon the existing land for green space for that area.
Everyone, if you go to Google Maps, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I can see it.
You can see it on like the ground view of Google Maps where our piece is and then where the empty lot is next door. And if you look even at Lincoln Park, there's not a fence along Lincoln Park, and they're currently using that as a park. So yes, we may need to find a solution for the traffic if there's a traffic problem, but I do think this would help utilize that area more.
Yeah, to add on because I know somebody mentioned, is it a busy street? So Northwest 6th Street is busier than Northwest 18th Avenue from that perspective. But I kind of just
Northwest 6th is Sistrunk, right?
Correct.
What about a skate park? I mean, they're always looking for places for the kids to rollerblade and skate.
So, you know, that's been a conversation we have had for several years. Even, you know, back when Lee was the city manager, we kind of looked at a variety of different areas and locations. The challenge though is that those skate areas have, and I think Joe could probably even speak to this, they've kind of not been as popular as of late. And so, and they also have like a certain element that may not be advisable to have. So that's kind of my only comment to a skate park.
I think we're trying to limit adding more cement to our city parks as well, right?
Karen,
Greg, I know, I see your hand up. Tangerine, you'll be next. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. My name is Greg Martin, and I'm new to the program, so take my comments for what it's worth. If I'm correct, it looks like there's a commercial property directly adjacent on the other side. You know, I want to, you know, my support is let's help the park that's there. Let's stop the commercial. You know, what if that guy comes over and wants to put another little, you know, Starbucks or retail type thing on Sistrunk Boulevard? Sistrunk's very active right now. We're going to continue to see, I believe, commercial development on that street to put a little more green space. The tree idea was a really good one, as a matter of fact. I think trees and shade for what that passive park program for $125,000. I think it's a good way to control your neighbor, stop the encroachment, and provide some, you know, a little more shade. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Tangerine and then Gail. I'm sorry, yeah, Tangerine's been waiting. Gail,
yes,
I'm sorry,
evening.
Tangerine's next. Go ahead, Tangerine.
Yes, good evening. Yes, I disagree with the skate park, but I do feel that we do have the space to enhance the park. Then let's do that, because it is room to growth. We need the growth. We need the space. We need the green space in the area of Northwest 6th Trunk. As a business, it may be busy during the hours after 5 because people coming from downtown and take the 6th Street corridor to get to homes from instead of taking Broward and Sunrise. But other than that, I think the traffic itself is not that bad after working hours coming from downtown.
I think there's always ability to make it safer with some kind of barrier anyway. But Gail, go ahead. You're next.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when I was on the board of Coral Ridge, Mary, I think you were there then. We were going to put a meditation, kind of a really beautiful meditation garden in, kind of a walkway with benches and what have you. In New Taylor Bridge State Park, we put a labyrinth with benches around it, and it's really, people love it. I mean, I don't know if that's the place for it, but it certainly is green and beautiful. So,
If I may, is that okay, Karen? If I just go ahead?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was muted. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I am all for buying any kind of park space in District 3. They do not have, in my opinion, they do not have enough. I think the prices for this is cheap. It's already next door to a little park, and it just adds to it. And I'm all for keeping it as green as possible. But I'm for any park purchase in District 3 because I just think that they're underserved as far as that kind of space. That's my opinion.
Great. Anybody else?
Make a motion.
I totally agree with Mary.
Karen, I really think that the extra trees would really help because it looks like there's trees on the park, Little Lincoln. So additional trees would be really helpful. And I agree with Gail, park benches, sitting areas, especially for the folks who are taking walks or whatever. And Mary's absolutely right. District 3 needs a green space.
Mariana, are you going to make a motion?
I was going to move to approve both park acquisitions.
I second. Hold on. Karen, for record purposes, we need to split them individually.
Yep.
And we'll
okay, so should Mariana make a motion for Northwest 6th Street property?
You can start with that one, correct?
Sure. I move to approve that we acquire the Northwest 6th Street property for District 3.
Leona, you need to go. Leona, you need to ask everybody individually for a vote.
Yes, but I need to know who seconded that first motion.
I did, Leona.
Okay, I'm going to go through the roll call.
Wait, Charlie's got his hand up though. We can open it up for discussion now that we have a motion on the table. Charlie, are you for or against the motion? And then you can speak.
Excuse me, I'm for the motion and I was just going to make the motion to go ahead. That's all.
Okay, I'm sorry. I saw your hand up. Okay, Leona.
Okay, Alex Colazzo. Brucey Cummins.
Yes.
Caleb Gunter.
Yes.
Carrie Villeneuve.
Yes.
Charlie Lykoff.
Yes.
Darren Heitner. Deborah Rosenbaum.
Yes.
Gail Butler.
Yes.
Greg Martin.
Yes. Sorry.
Joanne Smith.
Yes.
Karen Polivka.
Yes.
Mariana Seiler.
Yes.
Mary Pelican.
Yes.
Robert Payne. And Tangerine Moore.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries on that one. Okay, the
Shall we
second.
make- Yes, shall we make a motion for the property at 1700 North Andrews Avenue, and then we can open it up for discussion if necessary?
I motion 1700 North Andrews to be approved.
Can
I
get a-
second the,
Okay, Charlie.
yes.
All right, I'll go to the roll call again. I'm sorry?
Can I make a comment about that?
Yes, go ahead. Just say if you're for or against the motion.
Isn't there a park on the other side of the street from that? Doesn't Wilton Manors have a park just on the other side of this?
They're just south, I believe, and that's
Helen
where,
Richardson Park, right? The old Helen Richardson Park there.
isn't that where they put the Annie Beck house? And the officer lives there?
No, that's a
asking,
different
do they know?
location.
Okay, sorry, I thought it was,
It does,
that's
Is
on
there a-
Dixie.
it is right at the borderline of with Wilton Manors. I need to look if there is a Wilton Manors park there. But then again, the call from here was to South Middle River, but it's on the east side of,
So east side of Andrews.
yeah.
The Richardson Park is on Bolton Drive. Is that what you're
No,
talking
that's the old house, Mariana. That's the nature center in the old house. But can the aerial come up? I'm pretty sure there's a park literally. You've got the old Lions Club group on the west side of the street, and then I think it was the Helen Richardson Park that used to be there.
The Rachel Richardson Park.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Steve Williams' grandmother, I believe. Yeah, see directly to the north of us is a park. Right here, right? 17th Street. Like it's someone else's,
Yeah.
Anybody?
But then again, I just want to highlight that when we do the 10-minute walk, it doesn't count what other cities have access to, but it only takes into account what the city of Fort Lauderdale provides.
Greg, are you familiar with our initiative of every neighborhood needs a park within 10 minutes walking?
Okay, yeah, I mean, I've read that a little bit. I guess I'm just letting you know that the green space is right there on the other side of 17th Court. We're gonna spend $1 million, or is there somewhere else where there's other green space? So the Wilton Manors, it's there. I guess it's there, right?
Okay, so you're against the motion.
I feel like it was worth making sure everybody knew there was a park directly across the street from a neighboring municipality. I don't, is this going to just be it's only big enough to be a green space park, right? We can't do anything else with it except a passive park, right?
That would be more of so our plan or our portion of it is for the land acquisition, and then AECOM along with the whole rollout of that takes place in February will determine as to what would be in place for the programming for the lot. At this time, we're focusing on the acquisition based on the needs of the neighborhood, but the programming would come from parks and neighborhood input.
I'm not opposed to it. I just feel like that neighborhood has a park. I mean, it's there. It just happens to be on Wilton Manors land. So I just don't know how we feel about that. But like I said, I apologize.
But it's not Fort Lauderdale, it's Wood Manors.
Right.
But if I live on the north side of 17th Street, I can walk to that park. If I live on the south side of 17th Street, I can go there too. So Wilton Manors residents will be using our park, which I'm okay with. I'm not, you know, I just felt like we were buying a parkland right next to a park.
Thing is, the city of Fort Lauderdale will have control over that land for, you know, as to what's going to happen to it. We have no control over what happens to the land in Wilton Manors, and they could, you know, pave it over and make it a parking lot. We don't have any say for that. So.
Right, I agree. Sorry,
Carl,
madam.
Mariana or Carrie, you're next after Mariana. Did you have something?
I just have a question for Carl. How's the use at South Middle River Park?
So we do get use there. We actually had a group come out and they used some of the soccer goals that are located in the back behind the Annie Beck House. We have that pavilion there that gets quite a bit of use. And so the park itself gets used quite a bit.
Carrie?
So yeah, I kind of agree with Greg about, you know, the park he's talking about, but I think South Middle River Park is the even more compelling one that is literally, it looks like it's like 3 blocks away and pretty significant sized park. And we have a $30 million budget to acquire park space, right? So it's not like to say like, well, I don't think this is the best use means you're against acquiring parks. And I don't think that we should think of it that way. I think it's more saying, hey, we only get one shot at this $30 million. And is this park on this main road 3 blocks from, you know, a much bigger park in South Middle River Park? Is this worth 1/30th of our budget for this? And, you know, I do have a concern that there's a bit of a sense like, let's try to go ahead and spend that full $30 million right now, which maybe that makes sense because otherwise land's just going to get gobbled up, but maybe it doesn't make sense because property is cyclical and we shouldn't spend it all right away. And we should wait on really unique properties or properties in areas that really don't have anything nearby. And I'm looking at South Middle River Park. It looks like it's a pretty significant sized park. It's 3 blocks away. And I'm looking at the property we're talking about buying. It's on a main street. It's not going to have room for any parking. So it really is just going to be a walk-up pocket park, which I love pocket parks, but I don't think pocket parks work on that significant of a thoroughfare unless you plant a lot of really tall trees. Otherwise, it just doesn't feel like a park space. So I got to tell you, I'm all for acquiring park spaces. I'm kind of against this one because I just don't think it's the best use of our $1 million. I think we're gonna, over the next, this bond is for 30 years. I think over the next 30 years, we'll have a better opportunity for that. And I don't think we should be trying to go through our full $30 million as quickly as possible. I think we should buy really compelling properties and then hold money for the next downturn or whatever. So for those reasons, I think I'm opposed to it.
Yeah, I need to
let me give one little bit of backstory as well. I mean, there's no necessarily rush to go out and spend the money. We've definitely identified areas of need, and so we identified that this fits within that area. But probably more importantly, this area was brought to us via a commissioner through neighborhood constituents who had requested specifically looking in this area. So it did fit to the area of need, but equally, if not more importantly, was brought to us, via a neighborhood constituency through the commissioner.
Hey, I need to clarify that I was wrong. That site to the north is not Rachel Richardson Park. That's up on 21st Street. So that is a private piece of property that's just vacant. So to everyone's point, it could, I don't know what could be built there. Once you get a Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, whatever the case may be, hope not. So it's not like that need is being filled literally across the street. So I need to clarify that. Sorry.
Okay. Anybody else before we vote? Thank you, Greg. Carrie?
Can I just follow up on what Ken said. Ken, when you say a constituency, I just don't know if that's one person who called a commissioner and said, hey, let's try to buy that, or if that's the neighborhood civic association got together, took a vote of its general membership, and then the general membership wrote a letter to the commissioner. And that would really matter a lot to me. I mean, it could be the person who lives next door to it and doesn't want a property going in there, or it could be the entire neighborhood civic association. Did they submit any, like I would think if a neighborhood civic association wants this property bought, they would have submitted a letter to us saying, this is what we want, this is why we want it. So we have something to work off of here to understand why this piece of property on this major road so close to South Middle River Park is worth $1 million of public funds.
Well, we're working with a number of these associations, and I think the process is they work through us and through, city manager. We go through the process, we try and get the properties, under control, and then we bring them, to the board. So that's the process.
I guess I'm just saying, did a civic association take a vote and ask for this? Or did a commissioner just say, hey, I'm hearing this and people are interested in this? I want to know, because it would definitely affect my vote. If a civic association took a vote and they say, we all want this, then sure, it's not my place to tell them no. But if it's just one or two people, then, that's different.
We don't have a formal communication from the board. I can share with you that it was multiple neighborhoods, our neighbors. But I do not have that confirmation. That's definitely something that we can bring up next time when we bring the properties for consideration.
Who's the commissioner?
That is Commissioner Glassman's district.
Charlie?
I make a motion, we table this till next month till we get some more information.
Are we going to lose the contract if we do that, though?
We already have a motion on the table, though.
Okay.
So you want to change? How do we do that?
That's a fair question. Do you lose the contract if it waits a month, Louisa?
Probably.
So real quick, we already had a motion on the table, so we have to deal with that motion first.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the answer to that question affects how we vote on that motion. I mean, Glassman's my commissioner. I'm not going to vote against the property he wants if it's going to risk losing it. So can we just get an answer before we vote on the current pending motion as to whether or not this could be revisited next month without risking the contract?
Leona, do we have a meeting for next month?
Yeah.
Yes, it's actually going to be in February.
Can we have a picture of the park back up on the screen, please?
February 24th.
But that doesn't answer the question as to whether or not we're going to lose the contract.
That's what I'm confirming. We have enough time within our due diligence to bring it back by February.
We don't meet until the last last Wednesday in February.
24th.
Okay.
We have a 90-day period.
Sorry, really we have 60 days because we have to publish 30 days before. So I think
it'll be short, but I think we can make it, right, Brooke?
Yeah, as long as it's February before March, I think we're okay.
You think you know?
Hold on, I need to check. When is your meeting?
The 24th, Wednesday, the last Wednesday of the month.
Declared February 24th.
I need to check the commission calendar.
I haven't seen the commissioners be that impulsive. I think they usually have their constituents, a decent amount of constituents before they make those suggestions, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, especially Steve Glassman.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I didn't know it was Glassman when I started this conversation.
So
You're in trouble.
A different feeling, Carrie?
I am in trouble, yeah.
Hey, Karen.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I didn't.
Should we take a vote on the motion on the floor first?
I think we should. I think we need to move forward with the motion on the floor.
That's what I was gonna say, Karen.
If you want to reject it and move to a new and move to a new motion, then we can do that, but we have to deal with the motion on the floor.
All right, I'll do roll call. Alex Collazo.
Are you for or against, Alex?
He's not here. Brucey Cummins.
I'm totally confused. Which parcel are we talking about? I asked for it to come back up on the screen because I'm not sure where we're at.
Hold on, I'm just trying to calculate the commission date for when we need to publish it. So
Louise, we still need to deal with the motion now, right? Okay, I guess you can tell us if you would have time to present and come back.
Could you restate the motion?
Who made the motion?
I did.
It was Deborah.
Can you restate the motion, or Leona, read it back?
I move to approve the proposed park acquisition number 5 at 1700 North Andrews Avenue, District 2.
Who seconded?
Charlie was the one that seconded initially. Do you still second it, Charlie?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll go through the roll call. Alex Collazo. Brucey Cummins.
No.
Caleb Gunter. Caleb Gunter. Carrie Villeneuve.
Yes.
Charlie Lykoff.
Yes.
Darren Heitner. Deborah Rosenbaum.
Yes.
Gail Butler.
Yes.
Greg Martin.
Yes.
Joanne Smith.
Yes.
Karen Polifka.
Yes.
Mariana Seiler.
Yes.
Mary Pelican.
Yes.
Robert Payne. Tangerine Moore.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Ken, for ones in the future that have been vetted at the neighborhood level, either if they originate from the community or whatever.
Yeah, I got it.
Just speaking for me personally, it would be helpful to have some sort of neighborhood statement of this is why we want this, things that would address the questions like that.
Right.
That would just be helpful for me personally.
Agreed. No problem.
Yeah, that should be part of their due diligence as far as checking these properties out as to why we're even purchasing them to begin with.
I would also like to support that in the sense that the commission meetings that I would go to with the motions that we had sent forward as a board, the commissioners really wanted the backstory on why we came to that, and I couldn't always remember them. So I saying that forward, moving forward as a board, when we send motions to the commission, we need to do our due diligence as well and give them that type of information, just like this situation. How did we get to this point? Just as wanted to share that with you. Okay.
We will incorporate that as we go forward. We have a couple more that are be coming down the pike here shortly.
Thank you, Ken.
So you got it.
Can I assume no further discussion? Anybody else need to discuss this?
Can we talk about pickleball?
Tangerine
Bring
has
your
her hand up.
paddles. But listen, I'm sorry, were you saying something, Mary?
Yeah, I'm just seeing that Tangerine has her hand up.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Tangerine. Go ahead.
No, Madam Chairperson Karen. I was piggyback at first before we took the vote again. I was confused because why we got to this point of if forget it.
Are you sure?
Now. Yeah, I'm getting tired. Yeah, I'm tired.
Okay.
I just came home from work.
And we're not finished. I'm so sorry.
Oh my goodness.
We have one more item on the agenda.
know.
Last but not least, the Litterbug bounty proposal. Do we still have Theodore Levin and oh gosh, Stiliani? Well, I need to know.
Yes.
That.
Hi, I'm here.
Wait, how do you say your name?
Stiliani.
Stiliani, it's beautiful. Hello, welcome. I'm so sorry. You must be dying waiting this long.
That's okay, no problem.
So sorry. And the DET, does that stand for detective?
It does. Myself and my partner, Detective Theodore Levin.
Okay. Hi, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. So the little bit, I guess, of the background, the information that we had received about the program, we have several questions regarding if this can actually be implemented in the sense of, the bodies as far as officers that would be required to be able to implement this program. Also to, whose budget is it coming out of in regards of the officers being assigned to the beach. We've also just kind of have concerns about calls for service. On the weekend on the beach, it's super busy. And obviously with the police department, we triage calls. So anything with immediate life safety issues, that's going to get the first response compared to an issue of littering. So we do just kind of have a few concerns of how this would work.
Can I just ask, Carl, can you go ahead and give a backdrop for the board on how we got to this point? Because I think this was probably from 3, 4, 5 months ago, possibly.
It was, yes. And I apologize. I probably should have did a segue into this, but about 4 meetings ago, I want to say it was probably initiated by Mr. Collazo, and then it kind of started from there. But the conversation was talking about littering on the beach, and we were talking about citing people who hourly and defiantly litter on the beach. And we were like, well, what about starting a program to enforce that? And so that's kind of when I reached out to PD to see if they could kind of speak to that and what they are aware of, and kind of can go from there. So that's kind of the layout with this.
It was a community reporting of citizens against citizens, correct?
Yes.
That could get ugly.
But that's how we got to this point. Right, I just wanted everybody to understand.
Thought if there wasn't anything in conversation or talks, and so that's kind of really the impetus of this kind of topic here for the board. So
what do we need to move forward? If we vote on? I mean, I know that there's got to be so many questions for the detectives. I don't even know how we would implement this.
Yeah, who wants it?
The board. Right. Alex had presented it, and I think we supported and presented it forward.
Okay.
I mean, I think is a great idea, but I just think being able to implement that is not practical. With our staffing with the police department, we're already short on the road. So this type of program would require that officers are just designated for the beach and the litter bug program. Also, how many officers? The beach is so long, running from, north of Oakland Park, just before Lauderdale by the Sea, all the way south to 17th Street is considered our District 1. That's considered part of our, our beach area. There's only on the road 3 to 4 officers assigned to the beach at a time. So now you're talking about how many more officers to cover that type of ground solely for the purpose of the litter bug, because those other officers on patrol, they're answering calls for service, robberies, burglaries, any type of medical call. That's going to take priority over a littering call. So it's just, how would, which budget would it come out of to, pay for these officers to be out there just for that designated area for the litter bug program? Because we do have a staffing shortage. Also too, and I'm sure my partner, Detective Levin, can expand on this in regards to, let's say, for example, someone just throws a Coke bottle on the beach. Well, that's a city ordinance violation. It's not considered a misdemeanor exception. So unless if it doesn't occur in our presence, we would need a witness to be able to say, hey, I saw this person do this. Well, depending on the calls for service that day, a person can be waiting for 20 to 30 plus minutes waiting for the police to respond based off our calls for service, since they are triaged on immediate life safety issues. So I don't ever want to see a citizen getting put in a position where they feel obligated to have to wait or follow the culprit to say, hey, that's the person that did that. That's just creating further conflict that I think it could potentially lead to a serious issue.
Honestly, I think this is a
Carrie, Charlie, and then Gail, okay? Sorry, go ahead, Carrie.
Yeah, so I remember Alex brought up the whole thing about citizens reporting on citizens, but I don't think that was the thing that really the board was really behind. My recollection, and I could be wrong, was the thing that we were interested in was having a dedicated officer who was patrolling the beach and whose funding came from the citations they wrote, and who largely focused on cigarette butts, because that's easy. Because you can see someone smoking, and so you can literally just stand there at a distance for 5 or 10 minutes till they finish, and then watch them throw it on the ground. And then you go right. And I think we said something crazy like a $500 or $1,000 citation to really make a statement that we're sick of cigarette butts on the ground. Because this whole thing arose from the discussion that the city can't ban smoking on the beach because the state won't allow it. So we said, well, how do we deal with it? We said, how about an onerous fine? Well, we probably already have fines. Well, why don't we enforce them? And so that's my recollection. And citizens reporting citizens wouldn't work. Just someone dedicated to patrolling the beach, finding people smoking, stand there, wait till they throw a cigarette butt on the beach, write them a $1,000 citation. The funding for the position comes from those $1,000 citations, and word gets out that news stories will report it. Fort Lauderdale is finding people $1,000 per cigarette butt on the beach, and now the problem hopefully resolves. That's my recollection, and that's something that I would like to explore.
The issue we have with that is we don't have a specific citation. It's actually called a notice to appear. It's a written arrest. So what would be done would be you'd be writing an actual arrest on a person for a cigarette butt. And if they don't pay that citation, they now get a warrant for their arrest. And that's just saying.
Like, unfortunately, unless we get a specific ordinance passed through the city commission that says, hey, if you throw a cigarette on the beach, that's a $1,000 fine. Right now, we don't have any type of ordinance that says it's a civil penalty. Like my partner said, it's a criminal violation.
Yes.
So do we really want to start writing people criminal violations for flicking a cigarette on the beach? Because that's all that really we can enforce. There's no civil penalty. The only other civil penalty is if someone litters from a vehicle. That's it. Unfortunately, we're dealing with the actual criminal municipal ordinance violation.
And on top of that, I don't know how we're going to get to the point where we can say that this officer's payment comes from the citation. When you write a written arrest or a citation, it does not go specifically to an officer or to a department. It goes to either city funds or general funds. That would be another thing because of an officer's salary, and it technically, if they're doing this, that's almost an off-duty assignment. So I don't think that they can get paid from the citations they write. It's the same thing as if we write a traffic citation, that money doesn't come back to us. That goes to the county and then other entities that are involved in that.
Right. Yeah, I didn't mean his personal salary comes. I just
no, I understand.
Program was it offset its own expenses.
Can we go on to Charlie? Let Charlie go.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to try to stop some of the litter.
We lost your audio, Charlie. There you are.
Hi.
Hi.
No, as I said, I appreciate the fact to try to reduce the littering and cigarette butts and all that stuff on the beach, but it seems very impractical to put citizens in that position. And the funding, I just don't see where the funding is there. Personally, I wish we had a beach patrol like other cities do, like Miami Beach and Daytona Beach and some of the other cities who actually have police enforcement on the beach, and it's funded for some of the other things that go on the beach that aren't very appropriate. But in either case, I think this litter bug thing is just impractical at this particular point in time.
I agree. Gail, you probably have a lot to say about this.
No, I think it falls under the guise of self-responsibility. I think there's too much government in our lives already. I think this is very complicated. Plus, I can picture fights breaking out.
Oh, sure.
With someone taking a video of someone littering and then,
Yes, Deborah, go ahead.
I think it's an unrealistic use of our resources.
I agree.
Honestly, if somebody wants to litter, you're not going to stop them from littering. We're better off using our funding within our budget within the city's budget to just, with the people who are doing the cleanup. Because once, people are notorious for not caring about our environment. You're never going to stop that. And when you cite somebody, you give them a ticket for $500,000, they're going to say, I don't have the money.
Okay. So there's really no purpose in the board discussing this any further, is there? Brucey, you have your hand up.
Carry a plastic bag to the beach with you, pick it up.
Yeah.
I actually went through and called a bunch of places, and there are, from Cocoa Beach to LA, they have fines for these things on the beach. As much as Miami
Maybe
Beach
they have
is
an ordinance.
$1,500 for the first offense. I mean,
But they must
LA
have an
is
ordinance
$10,000.
against it, Brucey. Right? Officers?
I'm sorry. At this time, I'm not aware of any ordinance that is specific for that. We have dumping ordinances. We have.
No, I'm saying where she found the fines that exist in these cities, they must have an ordinance on their books for them to be able to enforce that. We do not have that in Fort Lauderdale. So you got to work on getting the ordinance passed, and then we could work on getting officers to enforce it, right? Isn't that the process?
Yes, and I mean, imagine too, we're such a big tourist city. I mean, there's so many people that come here for tourism. Imagine that we're gonna start criminally citing people for flicking a cigarette on the beach. It's just not, I don't think it's a good look for the city of Fort Lauderdale, and it's just not practical. The beach is so long, even if you designate one officer.
The internet would have a field day with us, a guy in Florida.
Carrie's got his hand up. Carrie?
So.
Carrie?
It's a nice thought.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Brucey, I'm counting on you on this one. I hereby make a motion that we send a communication to the city encouraging it to pass a civil ordinance to create a civil fine for littering on the beach. And if it needs to be targeted at cigarettes, it'd be targeted cigarettes. Can I get a second, Brucey?
I will.
Yes. I think we already know how this vote's going to go, but at least we went down trying. We are against people throwing cigarettes on the beach.
If you're on the beach as much as I, that cigarette butts are the #1 problem.
Carl has something to say.
Yeah, no, I would just wanted to just to remind the board that we did have a cigarette butt program on the beach not that long ago. And the only reason that the canisters were removed is we didn't get the tonnage necessary to keep them on the beach. And I believe Solis was the destination. So, but we do have volunteer groups that do clean up along the beach. And so I just wanted to just share that just so that you are aware that things have been done to try to mitigate some of the trash, especially the cigarette butts along the beach.
There are beach sweeps that take place on a regular basis.
We have
because people are throwing so much trash on the beach, which is why there should be a civil penalty so they can be fined a civil fine. But look, clearly it's not going to pass. So that's our vote.
Diliani has something to say.
I just want to say too, we have a really great working relationship with Parks and Rec, and their crew is amazing at cleaning up the beach, especially during spring break times. I know we actually end up hiring contractors or extra bodies to be on the beach, to keep picking up, and they do a great job. I mean, they really, really do.
We're talking about cleaning up trash that shouldn't be there.
Money picking up.
We have a motion on the table. We need to vote, right, Leona?
Yeah, that's right.
So I'll go to the roll call. Alex Collazo. Brucey Cummins.
Yes.
Caleb Gunter. Carrie Villeneuve.
Hell yes.
Charlie Lykoff.
No.
Darren Heitner. Deborah Rosenbaum.
No.
Gail Butler.
No.
Greg Martin.
No, pick up your own trash.
Joanne Smith.
No.
Karen Polivka.
No.
Mariana Seiler.
No.
Mary Pelican.
No.
Robert Payne. And Tangerine Moore.
No.
Motion fails.
Sorry, guys.
Hey, Karen, can I say something real quick?
Please.
I just wanted to thank the detectives, Theo and Staliani. Sorry if I mispronounced.
No, you're good.
But I just, because we've moved them twice because we've pretty much had packed agendas. So I just wanted to say thank you for being patient with the board, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And for waiting for us all night.
Thank you for doing that.
Sorry we couldn't, I guess, deliver. It's just, yeah, we're sorry. No, thank you for having us, and we're sorry, you know, I wish it was a more optimistic outcome of what we had to input, but unfortunately, this is just the reality of it.
Right. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Before the board leaves, I wanted to take a minute to say thank you. Unfortunately, this is a sad night for me because I have exhausted my 6-year tenure with the Parks and Recreation Board, and I'm termed out on February 20th, which means I missed our last meeting. But 6 years flew by way too fast. I'm terribly sad. Maybe I'll see you guys in 2 years when I can join you again.
Sorry, Karen, I just got to know you.
I know.
Wow, Miss Karen.
We get money in our bond, and I feel like we've got so much to conquer.
Yeah.
Maybe we can make an exception.
I don't know. I thought so, but I'm not sure how to make that happen. We thought it moved to 10 years, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, with that new ordinance that passed, it kind of messed everything up.
Did it?
Definitely.
But if no one takes their place, she can stay, right?
No, actually, somebody's already been appointed.
Oh, really? I thought the board voted on it. Did the board vote?
No, in terms of replacing the body, the actual person.
Yeah, so,
Wait, somebody's already taking Karen's spot.
We will have
Not as chair. You vote as a
being as a member.
How do you, who determines who's going to be chair next?
Somebody has to make a motion, and then somebody seconds it, and we take a vote. That's how the next person gets that role.
Do you do that tonight or at the next meeting?
No, you'll have to do that tonight.
Oh, really? Sorry about that. Okay, so maybe make a motion. Pardon me?
Can we wait for the next meeting since our vice chair's not even here?
Yeah, I think a lot of people signed off. I almost think you let the vice chair know he's got to run the next meeting, and then you can hold the vote for the next chair.
I think it's a little.
We can do that.
I think it's a little cruel to do it now.
Yeah.
I agree.
I would have announced it earlier if I knew everybody needed to vote.
Yeah, we can do it next meeting. I'll have a conversation with Caleb offline, and
I think an email maybe needs to go out so the board's prepared to make a.
Yeah, we'll make it an agenda item.
Okay, I think that's a great idea. So we need a motion to end this.
I motion we adjourn.
I second.
Wow.
Good night, everybody.
Well, good night. Nice knowing you, Miss Karen.
Bye, Karen.
I love you guys. I'll miss you.
We'll see you other times.
Yes. All right.
Oh, weird.
Okay.
Sad.